To this day, apartments and houses in Jailbreak continue to be one of the most neglected features. It's truly a shame because a lot of work went into them, and I think with some changes they could be much better. Here I'm going to try to diagnose the biggest flaws and issues with the way apartments and houses work right now, and I'm going to try to throw out some possible solutions. Keep in mind I don't know everything, and I bet a bunch of my solutions are flawed. I'm just trying to give some ideas. Anyways, let's get started. So I want to talk about some general problems that don't really fall into the categories I created. The big one is that there aren't that many locations and they're not in the best spots. Simply put, they're all clustered in the city or in the town, and there's a lot of area in the map where you could put more of them. Maybe you could put some near the crime port, or put some in Crater City and the trade port. Those are two perfect locations for more houses and apartments. If the game can only support a certain amount, then maybe remove one from the city and two from the town, and then put them over in the map expansion. I just think the locations of houses and apartments should probably be a bit more spread out. Most of them are also too expensive. The big standout here is the one in the town for 25k. It's simply not worth it, especially since you don't keep it after you leave the game. The cost for all of them should be lowered, and in my opinion, it would be best if they all costed the same to rent. A lot of people don't like how you have to buy them every time you join a new session, so I suggest adding an option to permanently buy apartments or houses. You could still choose to rent them if you would like, but for a much more expensive price. You keep the apartment or house forever, and all you need to do is just claim it. If someone claimed your house or apartment, you would have the option to claim a different one. I think they should all cost the same because, to be honest, the extra space isn't really that helpful. Now let's dive into some more specific critiques. Now I want to talk about the issues with apartment customization. The items you have are still quite limited, as a lot of them are only in one color. For some stuff like the kitchen items, there's only a couple of them and they're only in one color, so they really stand out when compared to other aesthetics or colors that you would prefer. I think there's two ways this could be fixed. Number one, the old apartments actually have this feature. Just let us change the color of every furniture item. This would definitely be complex to implement, and I don't know if the devs would think it's worth their time. So I think my other suggestion to fix this problem is better. Just add more different colored variants. For example, with this chair over here, there should be a red variant, a pink variant, a green variant, etc. One thing that also bugged me about apartments and houses themselves is how you can't change the wall color or anything like that. It's all stuck in one color. It would be nice if we could swap through and change it to like green or red or something, but I think an easier solution, if the devs want to go the easy route, would be to make every single apartment or house a different color. Like, for example, this one could be green. Another big problem with customization is how difficult it is to align the furniture. You can't snap the furniture to fully face one direction. You have to do it manually, and it can be very tedious. It's often really aggravating to see apartment decorations that are off just by a little bit. I think to fix this, the devs could add some kind of indicator showcasing when your furniture is fully facing one direction. Or they could add a feature which you could toggle that basically turns your furniture facing fully one way. And if you would like to align it in a tilted way, then you could just turn that feature off. When trying to place down furniture or buy more, it's really difficult to navigate the menu as it's very disorganized. The stuff is not sorted in any way. It's just all thrown together and it's a jumbled mess. There are only two categories, and the defense category only has 2 items. So pretty much all the decoration stuff is just thrown over here. If you want to grab a specific item, it's very difficult to pinpoint. I think it would be cool if apartment customization was categorized in the same way as vehicle customization, where you can sort by tire, rim color, body color, etc. For apartments, I think you should be able to sort by chairs, tables, beds, lights, carpets, wall decorations, kitchen stuff, and possibly even more. Whatever way you put it, I just think it's pretty frustrating to navigate through right now, so I think the inventory system of apartments should be changed. Now, one aspect of apartments that I do like is how they can serve as a quick stop for you to pick up a bunch of items. For example, when I used to play cop more often, I would store my guns over here, and then I would put a donut and energy drink machine over here. Basically, every time I died, I would respawn here and quickly grab my stuff. However, now you can choose to spawn anywhere you would like. And simply put, there's no reason to get apartments for that factor now, since you can actually spawn at the gun store. Now, to fix this, I would just add more stuff to apartments to make it more convenient. Instead of only 3 options for guns, maybe add a way for players to access the full gun shop UI from their apartment. Also, I think it would be cool if they added a glider vending machine as well as maybe a dog house, so players can access dogs and gliders pretty easily. Also, something that has always bugged me about apartments in particular is how there's nowhere to put your car. You pretty much just have to leave it out here and somebody could steal it, or it could let cops know where you're located. I think all houses and apartments should have garages to keep your car stowed, and it would also serve as a way for people who die and respawn to spawn a new vehicle. Also, it's pretty easy for people to adjust vaults to pretty much completely block off any way for cops to get them or to access the vaults. If you're a player with a high bounty, you can just hide behind these vaults and it will be very difficult for cops to find you. You can also spam chairs in such a way that cops will get stuck in them and then they'll be killed by the machine guns as soon as they step out. Now, to fix this, obviously I don't think you should be able to block off entrances to other rooms completely. I just think that's ridiculous, and there should be a zone around them that prevents people from placing them. Also, there should be a forced distance between chairs so people can't just spam a bunch of them together. And finally, for customization, I think it would be nice if you could also rearrange the walls of the apartments. For a lot of the ones in the city, there's no walls at all and it just doesn't look that good. I think it would be nice if you could maybe put a wall over here or something like that. But yeah, in short, those are my critiques with the customization aspect of apartments. With some tweaking, I think it could be much better. Next, let's talk about vaults. These are the biggest incentives for criminals to use apartments, but unfortunately, they also have a lot of problems. Most of the time they give a very small amount of cash, and I don't think I've ever made back the amount of money I spent on an apartment from vaults. At most, split among the other players in the group, I only get like 2,000 or 3,000. Now obviously the fix to this is pretty simple in my opinion. Just increase the amount of cash added to the vault after every robbery. I think for every active crew member they should get at least 6,000 to 8,000. Also, it might be a good idea to have only one vault, but it would take in money from every single robbery instead of only one specific robbery. If they still kept 2 vaults, which only count 2 robberies, I don't think there should be any division. If the vault has 6k or 7k, then every player should get 6k or 7k. Another problem with vaults is they're just so inconvenient to get to. It takes a lot of time to drive all the way back to the apartment and then open them up, and in the meantime I could be robbing something else and I'd definitely be getting more money. I think they should just open automatically after every 15 minutes, and you shouldn't have to manually open and close them because that's pretty tedious. Or if the devs don't want to implement a feature to open the vaults automatically after every 15 minutes, then I think at the bare minimum players should get notified when their crew vault is ready to open. Because in the past when I used apartments, I would just keep playing and I would never know when the vault is open. Also, I don't like how cops are not allowed to use vaults. I think they should also have access to vaults, but the vaults would count money from arrests. It might be too similar to the bank truck, but honestly, I think it would be a good way for cops to get a little extra money. However, I think it would be fun if criminals could also raid cop headquarters and then they could also steal the money from cop crews. Finally, I don't like how everybody in the crew is able to get money from the vaults, even the people who didn't do anything. If the changes I suggested here were carried over in-game, then a lot of crew members could just AFK and keep getting money for doing nothing. Now, this would be tough to balance and implement, I'm sure, but I think only the people who contribute towards the vault should be rewarded. It would be tough to balance, especially considering people who rob some stuff but not others, but I think it can be done. After that, we're going to discuss raids. I think one problem off the bat is that there's only a couple of defense items. Mainly these turrets, which are very easy to get through if you have a force field launcher, and this bookshelf, which, you know, it's very easy to get around. I think they should add more defense items, one of which could be a shield generator. You'd need to destroy it in order to get through. Also, maybe you could upgrade the turrets you have and make them even better. Another issue I have with apartment raids is that the people who attack can stay inside pretty much as long as they would like, and they can destroy all your apartment items, meaning you have to go back and manually replace all of them, which is very tedious and wastes a lot of time. I think cops doing raids should be kicked out after like maybe a minute, and I think after the raid is complete, whether the cop was successful or not, all the furniture that was placed should be able to regenerate. Finally, if you're a criminal and you're being raided, I don't like how difficult it is to escape. There's only one way out. In my opinion, there should be multiple ways to exit. Maybe you could break the window with your gun or something. I think that could be cool. Also, like I said earlier, you should not be able to block off entrances with vaults. That makes raiding on the cop side a lot more difficult, and I think that really should be addressed. Final section, we're going to talk about crews. These are honestly the best part about apartments, and I think the way they work right now is actually pretty good, but they still have their issues. For one thing, you can only have 5 people in one crew, and while that's a lot for quite a few players, it's often not enough. And the consequence of this is that if you're playing with a group of like 6 or 7 people, it's easy to lose the other 3 people you're playing with, as they don't have an indicator or anything like that. To fix this, I think the crew size should be extended. In an ideal world, I would have it be like 10 people, but if the devs want to keep some houses more expensive than others and incentivize people to buy different ones, then maybe bigger houses like this one over here could have larger crew sizes. Also, I think it would be cool if you could toggle your apartment or house to allow friends or everybody in the criminal team, like the way old apartments worked. This way, even if people aren't in your crew, they can still go in your apartment. Also, there's no reason for cops to make groups as they don't have access to the vaults. Like I suggested earlier, I think cops should be able to access the crew vaults, and every arrest from cop in the crew would count towards the vault. As the devs shift their development focus on Jailbreak towards refinement, I think one of the biggest things that needs change is apartments and houses. They're very neglected, and I think there is a lot of missed potential here. With just a few changes, I think they would be a lot more used and they'd be worth the price. Well, those are just my opinions and my suggestions. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think are the biggest issues with apartments and houses right now, and how do you think they can be addressed? Please make sure to let me know respectfully in the comments. Please make sure to check out the other videos I made covering what I believe are big problems with Jailbreak and some possible solutions. Anyway, thank you guys again for watching, and I hope to see you later.